Hi, chess friends. This is Sir Glenn for Olongapo City Chess Club, and this is the third installment of my opening study regarding the Queen's Gambit accepted. And this time, I want to discuss a very important line which I did not tackle on my first two videos regarding the Queen's Gambit accepted. After a6 here, normally White would try to play e3 instead of playing e4, but you need to take note of the difference. Okay, so let's just say White plays e3 so that he can capture the pawn on c4. It is a very big error or blunder to defend the c4 pawn here, because after a4, bishop b7 takes takes, rook takes a8, bishop takes a8. White has a very strong move here, starting from b3. And here, Black is forced to lose both of his pawns, the c4 and the b5 pawn, and thereby giving White a very big advantage. So let's say, for instance, Black plays pawn takes b3, White captures the b5 first with check, and after c6, bishop c4, queen a5 check, and knight b to d2, and Black cannot save the pawn on b3. Okay, so here let's try to go back. So if White plays e3 here, Black should go back to the normal line, which I discussed on my first two videos, which is knight to f6 and putting pawns on e6 and c5, knight c3, capturing on d4, and after pawn takes, bishop e7, rook to e1, knight c6, bishop g5, castle kingside, and followed up by knight d5, which will lead to equality. If you want to discover that, you need to take a look at my first two videos regarding this Queen's Gambit accepted theory. Okay, so let's try to go back. A very important nuance is that if White tries to attempt uh, to play his pawn to e4, b5 now becomes a very playable line, and this is what we call the Borisenko-Forman variation of the Queen's Gambit accepted, which is championed presently by Grandmaster Dlugy. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly. Dlugy, Dlugy, which is a well-known chess coach, grandmaster in the United States, which he explains that after b5, the solution of playing the pawn to e4 and breaking, following it up with b3, will not work because of the attack on the pawn on e4. And here, b3 fails to bishop takes e4, and the knight on b1 is attacked, so he cannot attack or capture on c4. So after knight to c3 takes here, queen takes f3 will simply fail to queen takes d4. Let's show it with the very clear equality. So g takes f3 is recommended, and after let's say c3, knight a2, and pawn takes b3, followed by capture on d4. If in case queen takes b3, queen takes d4. But in case of let's say, for instance, instead of playing that, queen takes b3, White plays knight takes b4. I believe Black can play e6, e5, or e6, depending on the situation. But I guess it would give Black a very clear equality. Well, e5 might fail to bishop b5. So let's try to play e6 instead. And here, after, let's say, queen takes b3 and queen takes b4, attacking the knight on c6, gives black a possible equality, I should say, because after king d8, the knight on b4 is still attacked. So after knight to d3, black can gain equality quite easily. Um, let's say, for instance, um, knight f6, bishop b2, and queen h4. And even though black's king is in castle, white's pieces are not uh, placed well enough to initiate or take advantage of this. And his structure, especially the doubled pawn and f, is really, not working onto his favor. And not to mention, black is 2 pawns up. So here, let's go back. I just want to mention here that um, the right move for white is actually not b3 but knight to c3, and I plan to meet it with c6, which secures the pawn advantage for black. And if black would simply develop, uh, let's say for instance with bishop e2, yeah, bishop e2, e6, castle, normal development, and knight bd7 after the pin gives, black or white a doubtful compensation for the pawn deficit. So it is very important for white, since he has a lead in development, to open the position early. And the most obvious plan for this is to play d5 directly. However, after e6, this gives black immediate equality or even an advantage. Let's say, for instance, d takes e6, queen takes d1, and after the exchange, let's say knight takes d1, so white can still castle, f e6, bishop e2, and c5, attacking the pawn on e4. This, I'm sorry, no, sorry, sorry for being ahead. Um, just go back a bit. After knight c3, bishop c6 should give black, um, an advantage here, or equality at best. I mean, yeah. So it's hard for white to prove that he is better here. Uh, let's say, for instance, bishop f4. Black can simply play knight d7, and just in case, instead of bishop f4, white plays knight to e5, attacking the bishop on c6. Um, White may simply play b4, and after knight takes c6, knight takes c6, and knight a4 or knight b5. Well, I believe knight e5 is also good. Or let's say, for instance, instead of knight e4, knight b5, threatening to check here. Um, Black will simply try to develop, and after bishop takes c4, you can actually defend it by means of king e6. Knight c7 is not a big issue. Black can simply play knight d4, and black defends everything. So it's doubtful whether white can get an advantage. So let's try to go back. So therefore, taking on e6 does not lead to white advantage. So let's try to um, analyze what will happen if instead of capturing an e6, white plays bishop f4. Black will simply capture in d5 with the e pawn. White will capture back and play bishop b4. Here, as you can see, it looks like white has a big advantage, but actually I don't share the same sentiment because let's say for instance white plays queen d4 with the powerful threat of attacking the pawn on g7 at the same time threatening queen e5 check, um, gaining a battery on the, threatening to capture the knight on b8. Black can defend amazingly with queen e7, which pins the queen to the king on the e file so he cannot capture the knight. And after queen takes e7, king takes e7, defends the knight on b8, and keeps his material advantage, his pawn advantage. So black is very strong here in this position. So that's it, folks. Thank you so much for hearing me out, and I hope you enjoy this third installment of the Queen's Gambit Accepted. See you again on my future series on the study of the opening. Bye.